What's up, everybody out there? How you doing? Thank you for clicking that thumbnail over here at Pepe La View. I appreciate you. You know I do. Welcome, new viewers, returning viewers, and your subscribers. And new viewers and returning viewers, go ahead on and hit that subscribe button. And everybody, hit the like button as well as leave a comment. Listen, it's getting really interesting over here on these in these parts. It really is. As I'm covering R&B divas, I told you this is going to be a ride. Don't know how long it's going to be, but I think we're here. This is where we are, R&B divas. But anyway, so there I am, social media, strolling down. And, you know, I don't go looking for things. That's not what I do over here. And anyway, there's enough R&B divas to cover. I have enough to talk about, just how I feel about them. You know, I don't have to just cover, you know, gossip and stuff like that. But anyway, so, you know, I try to make sure that I don't get all of this clutter on my social media page. So, you know how when you go shopping online for certain things, and say, for instance, all of a sudden, I guess, you know, the internet thinks that you're interested in certain things, so it start shooting things out to you, trying to get your attention. Well, it's the same thing when you're uploading videos, right? So all of a sudden you're uploading videos, and now all of a sudden you get these things that show up on your social media site that, you know, the internet thinks that you would be interested in, you know, watching. This clip shows up, and it's with Stephanie Mills. You know how I feel about Stephanie Mills. Love Stephanie Mills. We're going to cover her over here. Anywho, so this clip here is about Stephanie Mills talking about Beyonce and Diana Ross. I'm going to leave it right there. We're going to watch it. Then I'm going to let you get, you know, I'm going to see how you feel about it. Let's see, first of all, before I begin, I don't know who this person is. Phil Jackson, I guess I'm pronouncing his name correctly. But anyway, he posted this. I don't know if it's on his page or not. I'm not quite sure. But let's just look at this real quick, okay?
I don't think you can compare Beyonce to Diana Ross. I mean, Diana Ross,
in terms of stardom?
In terms of stardom, it's still different. It's still, I mean, Diana is glamour and you know, Beyonce is glamour. It's just different. It's hip hop. I consider Beyonce hip hop. I consider Diana R&B and pop and just, I consider her royalty. Diana, I've always wanted to be like Diana. And when I saw Lady Sings the Blues and I would go to her shows in Vegas, they were always so wonderful and classy and everything. Diana Ross is the epitome of beauty and class to me.
You know, you and I were talking offline, and I agree with so much of your perspective on this one. Because I see Beyonce, I see her as everything you just said. I don't see her as hip hop. I know she's
I see her more like hip hop than anything. And I still think she's wonderful. Don't get me wrong. But it's two different generations. It's just totally different to me.
Now, there you have it. So let me talk about it. Let's see if I can break it down for you. Like my last video talking about Diana Ross and those Grammys that, you know, people said that she didn't receive a Grammy in a major category. And you remember what I said in that video about Diana Ross, and the majority of her Grammys came in the 70s. Her nominations came in the 70s. Let me tell you something, okay? She got 2 Grammy nominations in the 60s, and the majority of those nominations came in the 70s. And I don't care what anybody say about, you know, comparing Beyonce and in Diana Ross, because as Stephanie Mills said, it is just 2 different, first of all, categories of singers. And the times are different. Don't come to me and start telling me about how you feel about well, Beyonce is breaking down doors too. Absolutely. Both ladies definitely has a lot, okay, to deal with and a lot to do, you know, as far as their careers are concerned, and them just being females and black females at that. All right. So we understand that part. But again, we're talking about two different generations, and we're talking about two different types of singers, or let's just say entertainers. All right. Now, it's my opinion. That's all it is. It's just my opinion. You know, I think at this moment in time, we are mature enough to enter into a dialogue where we could talk about these things, because this is the thing that bothers me when something happened. Something happened. I still say it's probably around 1997. Something happened. People respect for yesterday's artists just went out the window. All right. Like nobody respects people like, let's just say, of Donna Ross's generation when it comes to music. We're not respecting the 80s divas, you know, and right now a lot of people are not even respecting the 90s divas, especially the early 90s divas. No one is respecting them at all. I mean, period. The way I see it. Like if you were an artist of the 80s, I think that you at least have some longevity still in the business, even if you was a one-hit wonder in the 80s. All right, you still have some kind of respect in the business. And I think it has a lot to do with the timing where artists was going through artist development. They understood how to present themselves. They respected the artists that came before them. They kind of tailored their careers after them. And then they knew what it was about once they stepped on stage in publications, so on and so forth. They understood how to represent themselves, all right? And let's just say if these divas had some rifts between each other and didn't like each other, they still knew how to respect each other, you know, space, all right? They knew how to handle and navigate through that in a roundabout sort of way without letting all of the, you know, tea out, if you will. I don't get it right now. And let me just slow down for a second. Because let's just break down what Stephanie is saying, then I'm going to go on my tangent. Two generations. Diana Ross is not hip-hop. Beyonce is definitely hip-hop. And if you followed Beyonce's career, then you know that when they released their first single, and it didn't do quite well, if I'm not mistaken. Like people were not really interested in Destiny's Child like that until they remixed the single. No. Now, when they remixed that single, everything like Destiny's Child took off. So they found a formula that worked for them as far as production and singing style. And they capitalized on it, and they continue to use that as of this moment in time. Like, that's Beyonce's style of singing. I'm not saying Beyonce cannot sing or anything like that. They just found a formula that worked, and they are definitely working it. And what I feel, my personal opinion, that eventually what ended up happening was, to me, it looked like Destiny's Child took on that Supremes type image. Well, Beyonce is out front, Diana. I really and truly do think that what they have tried to do with Beyonce is make her a Diana Ross type. That's where I'm going. It's not shade. It's not disrespectful. As I said before, you watch another video of mine and I talk about how the R&B divas of the 80s definitely tried to sound like Chaka Khan. Like it was like Chaka Khan. That's how. And I think ladies, female R&B singers tried to sound like Chaka Khan because everybody respected her and they knew that, I mean, she was definitely an artist. Let's just say at the end of the day, Chaka Khan is the ish. Let's just put it that way. All right. And she has a sound that's definitely her own and is totally out this world. Definitely. And I don't see how people, I don't see that in the 90s. What I see in the 90s when it comes to R&B divas or just divas, period, is that everybody went from that Shaka Khan sound. We got Whitney Houston dead smack in the center of the 80s, okay? She's huge. And what ends up happening now is kind of like, Whitney Houston is the ish now. We have to model everything now after Whitney Houston. And think about it. People are just idolizing Whitney Houston. Say what you want to say about Whitney Houston, but we like Whitney Houston. We love that Whitney Houston voice. And so now you have divas coming out who's trying to either sound like Whitney Houston or be like Whitney Houston. It's just what it is. Mariah Carey, Whitney Houston. Celine Dion, Whitney Houston. Toni Braxton, Whitney Houston. Jennifer Hudson, Whitney Houston. Do you see where I'm going? No shade. It's just what it is. And then if you look at how these divas have been marketed, it's been with that Whitney Houston in mind, okay, sound. I don't think Beyonce went that route, okay? I think Beyonce is definitely going the Diana Ross's route. And I think when she comes short in that category of being compared to someone like a Diana Ross, it's kind of like, ooh, thank you, Jesus. Okay. Okay, I feel it. Because of the time that Diana Ross was in, the 60s, and all that they had to deal with in the 60s, Black people, Black entertainers. For a person like Diana Ross to step on a stage and to do anything, she's breaking down doors. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, she's breaking down doors. She's busting them wide open, okay? And they still haven't gotten the respect that they deserve, because if she doesn't have a Grammy nomination for any of those hit records that they put out, that's a shame in it and of itself. It's the times, though. So what Diana Ross is doing, what Motown, Berry Gordy is doing in the case of Diana Ross and the Supremes, he is definitely doing the same tried and true method that all record companies did before him, during him, and after him. Let's make this appealing. So at the end of the day, because of the times that Diana Ross is in, Diana Ross is already becoming iconic. Her legacy is already, she doesn't necessarily have to make the moves. Oh gosh, she doesn't have to make the moves in her career to become iconic. The times in it and of itself makes her become iconic. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, say for instance, you want an education in the 60s. No one is allowing Black people to go to their institutions of higher learning. You want to do that. Guess what? You're breaking down those doors. You are already just becoming a part of history, period. Just because you're doing it and you want to do it. And so that in it and of itself makes Diana Ross iconic, period, in her time. For Beyonce, and let me stop because I want to take this slowly. So what we have Diana Ross and Berry Gordy, the Boys Club. Diana Ross is in the Boys Club. If you've been over here or watched a few videos, then you understand what I'm saying about the Boys Club. She's in the Boys Club. Beyonce and Jay-Z. Beyonce is in the Boys Club. Both women probably would not be who they are in entertainment if it wasn't for them being in the Boys Club. And for you all out there who want to just take it and run with it and say, oh, what are you talking about the Boys Club? They have men around them. That's what I mean. They have men around them, men who are respected, men who are able to, you know, hit the switch. That's what I mean when I say the boys club. Yeah, there could be other females around, other females who can call the shots, you know, but at the end of the day, you know, unless you are a Sylvia Rhone, you see what I'm saying? Sylvia Rhone would be an example of the boys club. You done hooked up with Sylvia Rhone, you in the boys club. Sylvia Rhone is another league of her own, trust me. Okay, we've talked enough about Sylvia Rhone over here as well. So do you get what I'm saying? So while Beyonce has probably had to deal with a lot in her career as it deals with her just being a woman and an African-American female, it is what it is, right? We're just talking about that, period. Beyonce has probably have to deal with that. But if you look at Beyonce's career, in her career with Destiny's Child, in her career as a solo artist, she has followed the Supreme's blueprint. But she hasn't become, oh, what is the word I want to say? This is going to offend people, but it's true. Beyonce, I'm sorry, but when I see Beyonce, oh gosh, I'm not going to use that word. That could offend people because it's not true. I don't want to say that word. Beyonce's style is different from a Diana Ross. Her style of dress to me is different than Diana Ross. Her presentation of a song, her performance of a song is different. Both ladies are very sensual with their lyrics. Trust me, you know, when Diana Ross talking about muscles, do you see what I'm saying? Which is very, you can say, okay, where are you going with Diana Ross's song, Muscles? She's talking about her sensuality, sexuality, and she's talking about sex. Do you understand what I'm saying? And Diana Ross is a lady, when she performs, she definitely knows how to use that femininity. And she's definitely a person who understands her sensual and sexuality. And she's very comfortable in displaying it, but with class, you know. And because of the times that they're in, she knows that she has to package it differently because she's trying to be appealing. When I see Beyonce, excuse me, now it's about to make sense fully. When I see Beyonce perform, I think it's different, and I think her style is different because Beyonce, her shows are high, you know, high performing. It's a high impact, high energy shows. So she is definitely going to be styled in a way that makes it comfortable for her to perform on stage because of all the movement she probably has to do. She has to make it look a certain way, which can come off as her being not classy. But it doesn't mean that she's not classy. Do you see what I'm saying? So I don't want people to fall into that place where I'm saying that Beyonce doesn't have class. I'm not saying that, you see, but it's two different lanes, very similar. Prime example, do you recall, this has always been my opinion about Beyonce when it came down to Dreamgirls. If Beyonce wanted that Grammy, if Beyonce wanted the Oscar award and all of that, Beyonce and whoever was on Beyonce's team should have said, you need to play Effie if you want it. If you want the recognition and the attention, because Dreamgirls was never, ever about the other ladies. Dreamgirls was never about, allegedly, Diana Ross, in my opinion, when you watch it. Okay, let me find my alleged. My alleged. Beyonce, Dreamgirls to me was probably the story about the Supremes, but it definitely was not the Supremes show. It wasn't Diana Ross's show. It was Effie's show. All right. It was about, or it became about, Florence Ballard, allegedly. Do you see where I'm going? Because Florence Ballard is the one who was kicked out the group, so on and so forth. Do you see what I'm saying? And I don't think that it was intentional for people to make Effie's character so big. I think what ended up happening was that Jennifer Holliday was so, she came off like she just took it without having to take it, but she took it, you know, and she ran with it. She took it and she was like, wait a minute, I know what I want. She took it and said, I'm not going to do that. She took it and said, it needs to be this way. Do you understand what I'm saying? You know, just as powerful as her voice is, you know, she used it at a young age. So she's snatching wigs from all over the place. Do you see what I'm saying? And because of that, Effie's character becomes the big thing for the Dreamgirls. And for whatever reason, I'm thinking that the industry looked at it like, well, we want to keep you in this Diana Ross type role, and it might be best if you try to play Dina and get that Diana Ross role, you see. And what we can probably do is take you and we can even come out with different songs, if you will, for you. You know, we can add different songs to you so we can give you that I am telling you type song too. All right. And so she took it, I'm saying, Beyonce, for how it probably was presented to her. And she was like, okay, cool. Because mind you, I understand they wanted to polish up the soundtrack for Dreamgirls. I love the singer, I Love You, I Do. I love Beyonce's Listen. I like it. But at the end of the day, you did not, absolutely positively did not have to touch Dreamgirls at all. You could have left Dreamgirls the way it was. It was going to be what it was and what it is and what it continues to be. Do you understand what I'm saying? So all of these things were just pretty much for, you know, next level career type things. And so Beyonce should have, that's my opinion, went and put on a fat suit or gained some weight. And she didn't really even have to do that. But again, you in the image of Effie now. And as someone was saying to me once before, no one really was saying that Effie's character was overweight. No one never, it was just the way Jennifer Holliday showed up. And so people took it for granted. She showed up like, oh, well, I hate to say it this way. It could almost come off as Effie being the ugly duckling in the group, right? And that she's competing against Dina. Because here she is, she looks this way, she sounds this way, so on and so forth. I want to make this group big. And since I want to make this group big, I have to use Dina in order to make it big. Which means I'm willing to push Effie to the side, my love that I have for Effie, everything, and push her to the side. And Effie's like, I ain't going nowhere. And that's what you have to live up to when it comes to the Dreamgirls. We're still talking about Beyonce. So Beyonce, if she wanted our respect, you know, then that would have been one of the places that she could have gained respect from people in the industry. But she didn't go down that route. And I do recall, I could be wrong, back when the Dreamgirls was coming out. Didn't Beyonce have like a clothing line or something like that? Or she was the House of Darion or something? Excuse me if I'm pronouncing that wrong. And I think that they was trying to, you know, do some of the clothing of Dreamgirls, but I think they kind of declined her. Anyway, so do you see what I'm saying? Like Beyonce is definitely making those Beyonce moves and knocking down those kinds of doors for herself. So that's what I'm saying. We're not talking about her not being, you know, not having to knock down doors, because we understand that it's just a different time. So that's the route that Beyonce should have taken for us to have taken her seriously in the industry when it comes to things like this. So she decides to be Dina, followed that down a Ross lane. And I think, this is just my opinion, you guys, I think what we're doing at this moment in time, and I don't know why, we shouldn't have to, all right? And that is, why are we trying to make singers and these rappers iconic? Like, it's like you're forcing it down our throat. Like, this person is iconic. Like, it's iconic, right? And you don't have to do that. The career alone in the things you do will make you iconic. That's what I'm saying. We're not forcing this down. Like, I don't see the people of the 80s saying that. Like, it's kind of like all of a sudden, it could be, it's a disrespectful term, depending on who you talk to, when people start putting R&B singers into that traditional category, R&B category, in that old school category. It could be looked at as being disrespectful and it's of the time, it's past. But at the end of the day, when you use that term like traditional R&B or old school R&B, guess what happens? There's enough years in it, in that alone, where you're being looked at as iconic. That they're an icon in the business. You're talking about, oh, this could get all over the place. I probably have to do a second video. You already know that I'm trying not to make these videos longer than 30 minutes. I'm definitely trying to do that. So I think I'm at a good point to cut off. So anyway, having said what I said, I think I'm gonna do a part 2. So over here, you know, we believe in putting your behind where your heart desires to be. Shout out to Beyonce for doing that, right? And remember, whenever I leave my mother's presence, she says, baby, I love you, but remember that God loves you best. And on that note, I'll see you next video. Until then, you all take care of yourselves out there.